Hello and welcome back to the LFC Transfer Room. Today we are live with another Transfer Central. I'm Charlie and I'm with Drew today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thanks, Charlie. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game, but excited about the transfer news. How about
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah, I'm good. Valentine's Day. Just had a nice night in with the girlfriend. So yeah, it was a slow day yesterday, but we got some transfer news today. Just really quick up to kick it off as well. People might be joining in and out of this. Sort of Dan might be coming on. So yeah, if it just changes, just ignore it. We'll just try and get this sorted as quick as possible. But just a quick little roundup on what we're going to be doing today. There's some more Carvalho news. We've got James Milner news on his contract as well. Also, too, we've got another link to Tolisso, which has happened last summer as well, and also Jacob Ramsey, the Aston Villa sensation. So we'll just kick it off with the one where we all were extremely sad about it not completing. Carvalho, Kevin Palmer of the Mirror, I think, has basically said that the framework is now in place for Carvalho to join Liverpool, and discussions are going on to get the deal complete as quick as possible. He also does go on to say that there's basically it could happen that Fulham get Carvalho on loan next season as well. So obviously we were originally meant to buy him this winter and then loan him back for 6 months. But Drew, there's a possibility that he could be going back on loan. And if Fulham get promoted to the Premier League, then he could be playing Premier League football, but not at Liverpool. Do you think that's a good move for Liverpool to make? Obviously, to sign him and then get him more first team action next season, which you might not get at Liverpool.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent decision and an excellent move for both the player and for Liverpool. I think that if he can get a full season in the Premier League, playing game in, game out, that'd be excellent for him as a develop, and then Liverpool to kind of have a free gauge at how he does in the Premier League, and for Klopp to see how quickly he could get into the team plans. I think it'd be the perfect audition. And after after we kind of dropped the ball there on the final hour of transfer window, I'm glad that it's looking like we're wrapping up this deal, as quickly as possible and not letting other clubs get into the mix.
Yeah, I think I know a lot of people were saying that it didn't go through because of the bad relationship with Fulham over the Harvey Elliott transfer. But as far as I'm aware, we've got an amazing relationship with Fulham. We Markovic, we sent him on loan and paid all of his wages, I think, or we paid a large majority of it. Also to Neco Williams, Harry Wilson went on loan there and he got signed. And it seems like a deal was in place for Carvalho, but as you said, it did just fall through. Obviously, as well, Harvey Elliott, we paid money to him, and he's still got a good relationship with the club there as well. But he is a midfielder, and we will be getting onto the James Milner situation. He's more of an attacking midfielder. Where do you think he fits into this Liverpool side? He can play on the wings, but mainly for Fulham, he does play, in that central attacking midfield role. So maybe it is a good idea for obviously him to go back on loan, and then maybe Klopp might change the system around in a few years. But when he does come into that Liverpool team, where do you see him playing, Drew?
Well, probably assisting in a more forward role, but I know that I've heard that he plays more on like the left side and assisting from that part of the pitch. But I think it'd be interesting to see where we are in 2 years in terms of who's gone. Because if the likes of Naby Keita are out, Oxlade-Chamberlain are out, we don't know who's going to come in at that point. Because it could be something like Elliott and Carvalho with maybe swapping in and out with Thiago and Fabinho holding. It could be one of those ones where we start seeing more rotation in the squad. But I don't know. I think Klopp kind of gives everyone their chance, and when they take it, Andy Robertson, a key example there. When you take it, you take it. So I think it comes down to if Carvalho gets a shot in the team and he takes it, then it doesn't really matter who else is there. But I'd see him primarily in the midfield because it looks like our wingers are going to be, Jota, Diaz, and Salah, or at least for front three moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. Again, guys, welcome to everybody who's joining. And make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Get your comments in as well, and we'll just pull them through. Obviously, it's just me and Drew today, so get your voices in, and we'll any questions or anything, and we'll give it a bit of a discussion. But a good point here, Drew. He could be Firmino's long-term replacement. Firmino was a 10 back in his day. So could be his long-term replacement, as Anthony said there.
Yeah, that could be an excellent opportunity for Klopp to mold someone in and have that time and the age to really, have the time to develop him and work him in. Hopefully we don't know what's happening with Klopp's contract, but that could be a really exciting prospect. How do you see his way into the team moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think it's a great decision to get him back on loan to Fulham. They are looking like the favourites to come up this year, in the automatic promotion. So it's and he's going to play there. Marco Silva adores him. It's a win-win for Liverpool and Fulham. He gets to develop in a Premier League, and Fulham are quite an attacking side, and I can't see them changing when they do come into the Premier League. I think they're going to be very much like Norwich, where they just stick to the plan and try and make it work. But yeah, he gets game time at top level opponents. We can see what he is, what he's like against the likes of Chelsea and even smaller clubs that we struggle to break down. Fulham, not Fulham, Burnley, people like them. So it is a great deal. It's 2 years at the end of the day, isn't it? We've got another 6 months to wait, and a year after that, and then a few months. So it's 2 years is a long time. By that time, we could have two of the front three not at the club. Firmino could be warming the bench, and Jordan Henderson might not be at the club. So it's a difficult one to say where I'll see him in the future. I see him in the Liverpool team somewhere. Maybe he'll be 21 by then as well, so he would have matured a bit more. Harvey Elliott would have been 20. If Jude Bellingham's at the club as well, he's going to be 20. So it's looking very good for the future of Liverpool, especially in that midfield role. But yeah, Jen, thank you for the sticker. Really appreciate it as usual. Carl as well has said as the Carvalho deal went through. It hasn't, but as we said previously in the stream, Kevin Palmer has said that the framework is done for it. But one deal that looks like it could be completed soon, not deal, but more contract, is James Milner. Fabrizio Romano has revealed that Liverpool have offered the veteran midfielder a 1-year contract extension. Obviously, Neil Jones earlier this year said that it looks like James Milner was going to be leaving on a free transfer at the end of his deal. Looks like Liverpool are, stepping back on that. Klopp has said as well that discussions are ongoing for Milner, and he's a big part of the changing room. But Drew, it feels like a lot of people are 50-50 on this. James Milner's been declining for some seasons now. He's been on the decline, especially player wise, not in the the leadership, which was what James Milner is mainly offering now. Do you think it's a good deal for Liverpool to sign him up to this new contract?
I think it is, as long as he takes a reduction in wages. I think if he's on board with that, I think the experience trumps what he can offer us on the field. I never want to see him at right back again after the Man City performance, but I think that having a role model like him in the locker room who could still be, contributing in training, where young players can look up to him and be like, wow, he's actually, a decent player at, 36. And, I look at clubs like Manchester United and, the young players coming through and how continually they just fail. And, you look at the senior players at the club and there's no one really there who's, been at the club for a really long time, except for De Gea, and how much is he a leader in the locker room. I think any player that Liverpool can keep in that setup who can offer a example to young players coming into the team to show them how they can have a successful career in a top division at top clubs for, up to his age. I think that's invaluable resource to have at the club. And if he can come in, probably as most as sub appearances at the end of the games to kind of hold things up, I think he can do that. And then the cup games early rounds to kind of guide the young players through. I think all of that is worth giving him a contract, provided it's reduced wages.
Yeah. Also, too, Jen, just to answer this question, not a new on the Salah contract so far. As soon as any news on that comes up, we will be getting onto it as soon as possible. Another good. I mean, Gary said it here. He could potentially do his badges and then move into a coaching role at Liverpool. He's, as much as Milner won't like to admit it, he is on his last legs at the moment. He's 36, going to be 37. So do you think it'd be a good idea for him to, do his badges at Liverpool in his final season and then maybe move into a coaching role with the youth setup?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a potential route for him. It's something that Gerrard did. But I'd like to see him still in and around the first team. Like I'm thinking of how Colo Torre kind of jumped into Brendan Rodgers' setup. Like I think there's a huge benefit of having a player that the young players will know and can admire and see him in and around the team each day. But do you think we already have that experience in the team that we wouldn't be missing him if he left?
That's a good point. I think Anthony said that. We've got enough experience leadership in the team. He's not necessary anymore. I understand to a point what obviously Anthony's saying there, but I do think Milner offers something different. We have so many leaders in this side. That's like the amount of national team captains we've got, the amount of people who captained, their under 21 sides or their under 21 national sides. It's a very we aren't short of leaders. That's something that has been great about Jurgen Klopp's side. But I do think James Milner's experience in the Premier League is absolutely vital. He's been playing at Premier League level since he was 16. 20 years now. He's seen a difference of game, the style of play changing. But I do agree. There's no way he should be on 140 grand a week with his new contract. It's criminal that he's even on that now. As much as I love Milner, he should not be earning that much. There needs to be a massive, massive reduction there for me to even really consider it, because I think Milner is at the bottom end, if not the bottom choice midfielder currently. I think Klopp brings him on when the game is maybe we're losing a bit of control and we're only 1-0 up, like he did against who did we play? Burnley. We were only 1-0 up and Milner come on for the last 5 minutes and sort of weathered the storm. But I do think it's time to start easing him into a coaching position, whether it's just coaching the first team or if it's coaching, the under 18 side, for instance. But yeah, I don't think I would personally sign it. If I think Milner could probably get a starting position somewhere else. So I think it's up to him really. I think Leeds would take him back, but he's not going to get the money that he's on anywhere else, to put it simply. But yeah, so before we get into our next topic, make sure you do leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and please do get your comments in. It's your show, so make sure you're there asking questions and we will get back to you. Another one that is a bit of a weird one that I sort of didn't see coming was Jacob Ramsey. From a very unreliable source, might I say Fitchers or Fischers, however you say it, from Spain. They've basically said that Liverpool are keeping an eye on Jacob Ramsey. As much as I don't believe this, I do think he is very, very good. He's been bagging goals this season and he's been compared to Jude Bellingham by quite a lot of people. A cheap Jude Bellingham, Drew, would you take it from what you've seen from him in the past couple of years?
I'm very excited by his progress, and I'm watching Aston Villa more as Jared has taken over, and he looks like a very promising player with a lot of good qualities and attributes. kind of hope that Curtis Jones can continually step up. And I know he's a different player than Curtis, but I kind of like the young players in our setup right now, and I wouldn't want to see anyone forced out. Or I can't see Curtis Jones's future in the club if someone like Jacob Ramsey came in, and the potential for bloated wage. Yeah, he'd be cheaper than Jude Bellingham, but would he? I imagine Aston Villa, as the years progress, maybe right now it'd be 50 million. A year later it could be 70 or something like that. You'd start to see like a Harry Maguire potential there, and I don't know. It's again, I question the credibility, like you said. Kind of just seems like it's foreign newspaper putting two and two together with Gerrard and Liverpool and young English midfielder. But what are your thoughts around it?
I think if Jacob Ramsey comes in ahead of Jude Bellingham, I'd be extremely disappointed. I think Jude Bellingham's more the midfielder we need. He's very Gerrard-esque in the way he plays. He's an all-round. He can play in defensive mid. He can play in that 8 position. He can play box to box. And I'm not going to lie, I haven't seen as much as Jacob Ramsey as I'm going to even claim to. I saw him against, who did he score twice against? I can't remember. But when Coutinho assisted him and Coutinho scored, I saw him in that game and he was very, very impressive. I do think Aston Villa are going to overinflate his price massively, though. Just because he's English, his contract's until 2025. They don't need to sell him. Jacob Ramsey's he's a starter there. He's going to come into this Liverpool team and not even be close to a starter. So if I was Jacob Ramsey, I would not sign. Even though it's a great move for him, I think it might stunt his progress. And we've been linked with a lot higher quality of player. Tchouaméni, Bellingham, even Kessie. These are established players who are going to come straight into the first team and have a bit of a instant impact, where I think Ramsey's more for the future. As you said, I think it does stunt Curtis Jones's growth in the side massively, which it isn't what we want. So yeah, but donation here from Selection, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Who says Ramsey will be cheap? I assume that means Bellingham is going for 90 to 100 million. Ramsey will cost approximately the same. Taking age and trajectory into factor, I don't think they're going to ask for that much personally. I think if you was to probably give Aston Villa, 50 million, do you take it? Do you agree, Drew, or do you think Selection's got a point here?
I think as the years go on, it could go that way if Aston Villa's progression coincides with that. Like if Gerrard gets them up fighting for Europa League places and Ramsey has a big part to play at that, maybe you can get upwards towards 70 million. But I think that it goes to Charlie's point of Jude Bellingham. If he's not going to reach that level when there's another in demand, because people are going to exactly go with what Charlie said. It's like, why would we pay for Ramsey when we could pay for Bellingham? So that will probably create a buffer of difference between the two transfer prices.
Yeah, definitely. I think if let's just say it's 80 million, Anthony's brought up a good point. Let's say, Tchouaméni and Ramsey, 40 million each, which is probably around what Monaco and Villa would accept. And Dortmund are looking at around 80 million just for Jude Bellingham. Who would you take? Would you take, both of them or take Bellingham on his own? It's a really good question there by Anthony.
I'd take Bellingham. I think we have the right midfielders to back him up, and I'm always of the opinion now with Liverpool, and Luis Diaz is kind of the perfect transfer. I don't want to see as much, kind of rolling of the dice without kind of knowing what the outcome's going to be or highly weighted. I don't want to see huge gambles on players that may or may not take. I want to see players who we know can come in and most likely will do the job and excel and be one of the top players for the club. I think we're at that position where we are one of the best clubs in the world, and we shouldn't be buying potential, players that might not work out kind of thing, and throwing a lot of money at that. We should be getting pretty much the people who are just about in the shop window. So
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, Hilo, I'm sorry. I'm new to hosting, so I don't say people's names. I'm sure Chris has got all your names down perfectly. But this is a sort of good point. Tchouaméni is a DM and Bellingham is a centre mid, which is more logical regarding Liverpool's needs. But Liverpool usually don't have that kind of money that is required for Bellingham. I agree. I've looked at Tchouaméni and I love him. I think he's going to be a unbelievable player in the future. And I think for the price you can get him for, it's a bargain. And the fact that more people aren't on this, it's crazy to me. He's going to cost you 40, 50 million, and you're going to get someone for years who's going to be, that great player. Obviously, it's League One, and he could. We've seen it so many times, and Dombele, who's the Chelsea guy, Bakayo, wasn't to come and just wasn't the same player. So it's a difficult one, but I'd probably lean more towards Bellingham too. As much as I hate it, the English tax is real. It adds a lot onto it, and especially someone of Bellingham's quality. So yeah, but Bakayoko, I said Bakayo, didn't I? His name's Bakayoko. Bakayoko. I don't know how you say it. I'm terrible with names, but he was absolutely dreadful. So yeah, I'd lean more to him myself. I same with you, Drew. Final story of today as well is a bit of a one that sort of come out of nowhere. There's a lot of free agents at the moment coming up to next year. We've got Kylian Mbappe, Paul Pogba, Paulo Dybala. One player who hasn't been mentioned as much is Bayern Munich's Tolisso. Obviously, he's pretty much won everything there is to win. He's won a World Cup, Champions League, everything in the Bundesliga. And from, again, bit of a sketchy source, Calcio Mercato, they are claiming that Liverpool are on high alert and their interest have peaked with the fact that he hasn't signed a contract with Bayern Munich yet. He's 27. He's got I think I don't know how many goals he's got this season, but he's having an okay season with Bayern Munich. And with Liverpool on the hunt for a midfielder, Drew, do you think he'd be a good player to come into this Liverpool team?
I'm not too sure about this one. I think this might be more of an opportunity, coming up where Liverpool's like, oh, we could get a good deal on this. Why not? I think that would be the only reason to get him, because I watched Bayern a lot through the Champions League, and I'll catch the big games, and he doesn't feature, or this season's different. He's having a good season, but in the past 3-4 years, he's only played 15 times in the Bundesliga,
Yeah.
15
I've
on average.
just double checked then, and he's only played 11 games, 2 goals, 1 assist, 113 games since he's come to Bayern Munich. A pretty good, assist, and I think he's got around 22 goals and 21 assists in them 113 games. So as a midfielder, impressive numbers. But as you was about to say, then I'll let you carry on. Quite injury prone.
He's also, I'm wondering if we can get Thiago into the mix more, Harvey Elliott, what they'll bring to the table. I feel confident in our midfield at the moment. For backup to Fabinho too, I really like Tyler Morton, so I'd like to see him, deputize in Fabinho's place. But as you said before with Bellingham, that's the kind of signing I want to see. Either that, or maybe Tolisso's teammate Serge Gnabry. That would be more of a signing that I would put my stamp behind.
Yeah, definitely. Just really quick before I get on to my point of view, make sure you get some questions in, guys, because there's only two of us today, so it's a bit short. Not as many opinions flying us around. So get your questions in, and we'll just go through them during the last part of the stream. But I think it'd be a good deal. I think he's only on 113 grand at the moment. He's 27. Yes, injury is a massive issue. We've already got so many injury prone midfielders. Adding another one to the mix just isn't helpful for anybody. But I do think if you can get him for free, and he's not on a crazy wage, if he's still on that around 100 grand, I think the experience and what he can offer, he is a very attack-minded midfielder, which we lack at the moment. Obviously, we haven't had as much Harvey Elliott as we would have hoped, so we're still unsure whether he's going to contribute attacking-wise. And we've got a lot of class coming through the academy, as you said, with Tyler Morton. So yeah, I'm a bit 50-50 on it at the moment. But yeah, I just quickly, Ayush there has said he'd rather Frankie de Jong or Tchouaméni plus Gravenbach. What are your thoughts on bringing them players in? Obviously, we've been linked with all three of them recently. Would you bring any of them in?
I'd like the potential for Frankie de Jong. I was always kind of back maybe a few years ago. I thought we should be looking at the players that a team like Bayern or Real Madrid or Barca signed that didn't quite work out, and then you could get them for a cut price, and they would have something, a hunger, a drive to prove. And Frankie de Jong would definitely be an intriguing one if we could get him. I don't know if he'd fit into the wage structure of Liverpool, but he'd be one that I would be excited for. But do you think that any midfield transfers is contingent on players leaving the club at this point?
I think someone's going to have to leave. No way we bring in another midfielder unless someone stays. I was assuming if someone doesn't leave, sorry, I was assuming that we bring two in because Milner would be leaving as well. And with that looking unlikely, there's still an opportunity for two players to leave. But it's as much as I absolutely adore Thiago and I think he's unbelievable, he has too many problems with his injuries. If he can stay on that track, I not by any means saying sell Thiago. I just think someone the same quality and just more reliable injuries, who I don't think exists, unfortunately, would be perfect. Keita as well, as much as he's unbelievable, too many issues with injuries. Oxlade-Chamberlain isn't good enough for Liverpool. So I would be more open to selling the likes of Ox over Keita, and I still agree that I still think that Keita's going to get a new deal, which I'm not mad about. I just think he's been a bit of a disappointment, but I think he'll either be on lower wages or the same wages, which I'm not mad about. But we need one midfielder. A midfielder has to happen this summer because we didn't replace Wijnaldum. We've got players who are getting to the end of their career now. Jordan Henderson's looking a lot more bleak recently. James Milner's legs are starting to go. And, we've got that injury problem with everybody else. It seems like the only person we can rely on in midfield is Fabinho. And as much as that's great, there's going to come a time where he's burnt out from the amount of games he's playing. And we need a midfielder who can play in that role, but who can play a bit more forward and a bit more box to box. And Gravenbach fits that. Tchouaméni fits that, and Bellingham fit that. So there's three players who I think we can easily sign if we fork out the money. And I think we'll sign one of them. I'd lead more toward Bellingham, but yeah, I am not too sure. I'm not too sure which one, but hopefully we sign one of them. But if you had the choice of them three, who are you going for?
I'm still going for Bellingham. I think,
Mm.
at his age and his ability, he's almost like the Trent for midfield for me, like somebody who'd be at the club for, a decade potentially and putting in top performances and cemented in the side. So any player like that, especially he's a Liverpool fan, right? Bellingham?
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
idol with Steven Gerrard. His whole family are massive Liverpool fans. So yeah, but he hasn't confirmed it, but from what we know, he is.
Yeah, like stuff like that for me is invaluable. Like it's the kind of intangibles that I think I was seeing like Steven Gerrard talking on Gary Neville's press box. So one of the videos from years ago where Gerrard's like, if you play for your hometown club or the club you support, there's just an extra added dimension to your game that you can be one of the best players, but that brings you up another level. Somebody like Carragher who is an average player at best, could put in, good performances for Liverpool just from that extra, 20% he could dig
Yeah,
up from how much he cares.
but
So Bellingham.
I mean, look at Harvey Elliott, as you know, absolute massive Liverpool fan. Went to the Kiev final, and now he's the fans love him for that. So it's bringing in a Liverpool fan is always, especially to the fans. I think it's a lot more. We love it more because they understand the club. They're not someone coming in who doesn't know anything about the club. But we'll leave it on a bit of Inter Milan. We've got Inter Milan tomorrow, massive game. Inzaghi has said that Liverpool were the team he wanted to avoid. Unfortunately, didn't avoid us. We played at the San Siro already this season against AC Milan. How do you think it's going to go against Inter, Drew? Do you think we're going to walk away with a good advantage going into the second leg?
Yeah, I think it'll be a very professional performance. I think that we're not going to take it lightly, and I'm hoping for something like a 2-0, like out of the San Siro. I don't think we can, approach the game. We're on a good run of form. We've got everyone back. Like all the right, boxes are checked for us to have a very good outing, European night, et cetera, et cetera. But somebody like Dzeko, like as he showed when he was on Roma, like he can come up with a goal. They have good players and they can't be taken lightly. So I expect a very professional performance at the San Siro, and then maybe more of an exciting potential, 3-4 goals at Anfield if the situation's right.
Yeah, definitely. Still challenging for the league as well. They're only 1 point behind AC Milan with a game in hand. So they're obviously, when you say that, we've destroyed AC Milan in the 2 games we played them. So you're looking at that and you're like, that's a good sign. But I think AC Milan have got a lot more quality in individual players. And I think absolutely massive that Barella's missing out on both of them games. So Lucas fell with us there. But with the away goals being removed this year as well, we don't really have to worry about going there and I mean, on the home leg back, we don't really have to worry about keeping that, away goal. So it's going to open a lot more opportunities, and I think we're going to go there, and I think we're going to try and kill the game off. If not, I think it'll be a lot more of a professional performance, as you said, if we can't get that early goal. But yeah, I'm going to go. I'll go a 2-0 win. What's your score prediction?
2-0 as well. I think
Look
that
at us.
sounds nice round. Yeah.
Yeah, on the same page. Gonna just really quickly give you a little, give the people who stayed a little sneak peek of this new fire overlay that Anthony made. Look at that, absolutely beautiful. So big ups, Anthony, in the chat. But yeah, so again, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Go and check out Drew on Twitter. Check out myself on Twitter. Look out for more streams. We've got to watch along tomorrow with Louis, I think. So yeah, we're going to do post match as well after that. So yeah, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.